Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Valley Public Forum video podcast. This podcast features issues of interest to the residents of the Mid-Ohio Valley, mainly encompassing Wood County, West Virginia, and Washington County, Ohio. Right now, with the coronavirus pandemic, civic life has changed greatly throughout our country.
One of the big changes has been that candidates for public office this year, and it is an election year, have not been able to campaign as they normally would. Generally, this time of year, candidates would be out knocking on the doors, going to soup bean dinners, ice cream socials, shaking hands, and kissing babies. They can't do any of that now.
So, most of our initial podcasts will be interviews with candidates for local office. If you're a candidate and you're interested in being interviewed and we haven't reached out to you, please contact us either through our Facebook page, that's MOV Public Forum, or via email at movpublicforum@gmail.com.
Today we'll be interviewing Chris Rexroad. Chris is a candidate for Parkersburg City Council, District 7. The current candidate for that, or the current council member for that district is John Reed, but he's retiring and not running again. So, Chris, welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me on. Like they said, I'm Chris Rexroad. I'm running for City Council in District 7. I'm a Republican. I'm ready to jump right in whenever you guys are.
Great, let's do that. How would you introduce yourself as a candidate? Do you have an elevator speech? So if we were traveling together in an elevator and you only had the time between floors to convince me to vote for you, what would you say?
Well, I would say that my background, I'm a teacher. I teach social studies, so government is part of what I teach to my students. And so I have a working knowledge of how the government should operate. And I would also probably put out there that though I'm a Republican, nowadays our politics in this country seem to be so polarized, either super far right or super far left. I'm more of a moderate. I'm a Republican, so I lean more conservative, but I consider myself more moderate than what a lot of candidates you would see out there. And I think that's beneficial in today's world for compromise and, just getting along with other people and appealing to a larger group of people.
So, Chris, what is motivating you to run for office? What made you step up right now, this time, and run for city council?
It's kind of funny, actually, out mowing, especially now with this virus thing going on, I actually see more of my neighbors than I did. Because, people just trying to get out, taking walks in the street, standing apart, but talking a little bit. And for years, we've had a pothole on our street. It's a concrete street, so it's not really a pothole, but like the concrete, it just sinks. And it gets worse and worse and worse every year, to the point where even in my pickup truck, the suspension will bottom out if you hit it very fast at all. And so that's kind of been the running joke in our neighborhood about when are they going to fix that street? When are they going to fix the pothole? And so, I don't know, months and months ago, I was talking to my neighbor over the backyard fence, and he was like, the election's coming up. Maybe you should just run for the city council and see if you can do something about this stuff. And I thought, hey, that's a pretty good idea. And I talked to some of my other neighbors, and they seemed to like the idea. So when, it came time to throw in your hat for the end of the ring for the election, I thought, let's do it. Let's see if we can get some stuff done around and represent the people around me and my neighbors, and hopefully do some good.
What do you think is your wow factor? In other words, what do you think that someone would hear about you or your candidacy and say, wow, I'm going to vote for him?
Well, other than my great looks and awesome personality, I would say I deal with people constantly. I'm a teacher, so I deal with coworkers and students and their parents. I also work a second job at Lowe's, so I'm constantly dealing with the public there and coworkers there. It's really taught me how to see both sides of a person's problem or an argument. It's taught me to work with people maybe even people that I don't necessarily agree with or even like. And I think that that is kind of a key factor to being on city council or any politics for that matter. You've got to be able to work with people, and not just people that you know or people that you agree with, but people that might not see issues the same as you, and be able to work with them without getting upset or taking things personally. And, that way everybody, the outcome benefits everybody, not just one single person or one single way of thinking.
Mhm. So if you were elected, what is the one thing that you'd really like to accomplish during your term in office? And is there a particular ordinance you'd like to see abolished, changed, or created?
Talking to people, not just in my district, but just people I know from all over the city, it seems like the number one complaint people have is constantly the potholes. So, I mean, I know that's kind of cliched. Everybody, oh, we're going to fix the roads, but it seems like that's what most of the people I talk to are the most interested in. So I think that would be one of the major issues that I would concentrate on. As far as city ordinance that I would change or add to, I think the city does a pretty good job. They don't seem to be overbearing, and the government trying to regulate every aspect of your life like some other cities around the country. The only thing that I've seen, at least from my personal experience, that I really didn't like is really just the situation if you have to get a police report. If you have a traffic accident or something like that, they post your personal information on there. So for example, I had several months ago, I was in a fender bender with a person on my way to work. Nobody was hurt, thank the Lord. But my phone number, my address, everything is listed on those police reports. And this guy he called me like 3 or 4 times, harassing me, threatening me, and just something as simple as post the person's name, but not their address and phone number. Because I mean, what would have stopped that guy from just showing up at my house? I think that's an invasion of privacy. I don't feel it's necessary for a police report. I mean, obviously the police need to have that information, but it doesn't need to be distributed to where anybody can pick it up and then, be able to contact you or harass you.
How do you feel about compromise?
I mean, compromise is essential, not just in politics, but anything. It happens in your workplace. It happens with your kids at home. I know I compromised with my daughter to keep her in her room and quiet so I could do this interview. You've got to be able to compromise with people if you want to get anything accomplished that benefits anyone. I mean, you can compromise with people that you know and that you're friends with and you agree with, because even if you agree with somebody, you might not agree on every specific, aspect of whatever the issue is. But it comes a lot more into play with people of differing views. So on the city council, for example, if there's an issue before the council, I may think one way, someone else might think another. The likelihood of each person getting exactly what they want is slim to none. You've got to be able to work with these people and compromise and come up with some kind of solution that all stakeholders find acceptable and that benefits everyone.
And this kind of ties in. How well do you play with others? And can you give us an example?
Well, like I said, my jobs as a teacher and at Lowe's, you have to play nice with everybody because it's required for your job. And that's not just customers or parents or students, but even just your own coworkers. We've had disagreements in faculty meetings at school on deciding anything from, when they're going to have the next dance to, funding for different projects that people want to do. You can't get overheated. You can't argue. You can't name call. It has to be, you can argue, but you have to have the skills to communicate to the other person clearly without, getting upset and causing trouble, to work out a situation. Same thing working at Lowe's, especially people with this pandemic going on. There's certain guidelines people have to follow, and some people get really mad about that, but you've got to just calmly explain the policy and the situation. You can't get mad at them. You can't, tell them to get out. You've just got to roll with the punches and, compromise and just be a decent human being, which some people don't do that well.
What do you think your worst enemy would say is your worst quality?
They would probably say that I can be stubborn. I know my wife would sure agree with that. If I think I'm right, if I think, it doesn't matter what the issue is. If I know I'm right, I dig my heels in and I can be very stubborn about budging. That doesn't mean I won't compromise, but if I think something is just absolutely totally wrong, I will dig my heels in and I will fight it tooth and nail. And so, yeah, I can be stubborn.
What would you say is your best quality?
I would say that probably my best quality is I'm hardworking. If I start something, I don't give up on it. I don't quit. I've worked 2 jobs for the last almost 7 years now. Part of that time I was working on a master's degree. So I was working my full-time job teaching. I was working 25, 30 hours at Lowe's, and I was also doing online courses for my master's degree. I'm not a stranger to hard work, and I will not quit, and I will see it through to the end.
Political office holders are leaders. Can you describe your leadership style for us?
I would say I'm a team player. In our country, there's no one person that really gets to call the shots and dictate how things are going to go. Even the president, we have a checks and balance system to keep people from becoming a dictator. I would say my leadership style would be more of a team player. I'm not afraid to jump in and lead the discussion or, to try to steer the group on a certain course, but I am not the sole decision maker. That has to come from a committee or from the group. So again, it all comes back to compromise and being a team player, not just in politics, but really anything where you have to deal with other people.
What are your own personal core values?
Hard work is paramount. I think that to get anywhere in this world, nobody owes you anything. You've got to work for it. You've got to be willing to put the time in. And I believe in doing what you think is right. When I was a kid, there was a cartoon we used to watch with my grandma when I was really little. I think it was Jiminy Cricket or somebody like that. And there was like a little part in it that said, always let your conscience be your guide. And that's kind of stuck with me all the way through my entire life. Don't do something just because everyone's doing it. If you think it's wrong, don't do it, even if everybody else is. And that's kind of what I've tried to live by, and just stay with that concept throughout my whole life.
Do you know what your win number is?
I don't have an exact number, but this election is based on popular vote. So especially in the primary, if I get more votes, I win.
Well, I think that's true in general also.
Yeah, well, yeah, for city council, city elections.
How often have you attended Parkersburg City Council meetings as a citizen?
I've been to a few over the years. I don't attend them regularly. They tend to be a lot of times more routine than any actual hot button topic going on, any kind of decisive thing. But I do follow the decisions made. The same neighbor that convinced me to run for city council, we'll be in the backyard talking over the fence, and we'll discuss a lot of the things that are going on in the city and what we like and don't like about it.
I have this mental image of Wilson from the Tool Time show.
Well, it's only a chain link fence, not a privacy fence, but that would be pretty cool. Just my eyes and my hat.
Parkersburg has a strong mayor form of government. How do you see the role of the city council in that form of government?
It's the council's job to legislate and to advise. You know, we pass resolutions. We are the ones that, you know, pass ordinances and that kind of thing. And the mayor acts more like the president in this situation.
What do you think you will enjoy the least about serving if you're elected?
There's going to be squabbling. I mean, you can't have any kind of group of people that decide on issues without some kind of confrontation or strife. I know that going in. That doesn't mean I'm looking forward to it. I think the biggest thing, though, is when it comes to funding. It doesn't matter where you live. Funding is always going to be an issue. And, you know, it's a big decision on deciding where to allocate those limited amount of funds you have. So I think that would probably be my least favorite part of the job, is the stress of, you know, you have X amount of dollars to spend. Where would it best be used?
So what excites you the most about serving on city council?
Oh, I would really look forward to representing my neighborhood. We already in our neighborhood talk about, you know, things in the city that we would like to change or problems that we have. If I was elected to the district, that means my neighborhood expands to include all District 7, not just the block or two around me. I think that's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to meet people and try to help them solve problems that they have. And I'm really looking forward to being able the chance to do that.
As a citizen of Parkersburg, and if you were a council person, you're an ambassador. Tell us what you're most proud of about our city.
This city has a very rich history, from, you know, the oil and gas boom to the railroad coming through and Blennerhassett Island. And, you know, it's a pretty city. We're right on the river. We have a lot to offer. And I feel like the people of Parkersburg, not just Parkersburg, but West Virginia in general, we seem to be more level-headed when it comes to things in the country. You know, the pandemic stuff right now, for example, you know, you see, you know, mainstream news talking about all the problems they're having in other places. It seems like we don't have the same major problems that they do when it comes to people panicking. So I'm proud of that with our city. And I think the people in our city help each other. At least in my district, if you need a tool, or if you need some help with something, or if you need just some knowledge, some expertise working on a car or working on something in your house, there's several people that would be more than willing to lend a hand, either with their knowledge or their skill or you know, their tools that they have available for you. And I think that's a really good thing. And it really makes our city look good that people are willing to help each other and be good neighbors.
With that, we'll move to the hot seat. One or both of us have been present at nearly every single city council meeting since the current council was sworn in. We've noticed that a lot of what the council does is routine and not of much interest to the public, like you mentioned before. We've also noticed that a lot of what comes up in council isn't controversial and is resolved by a unanimous or close to unanimous vote.
But there have been some hot button issues, and they got quite a bit of interest from the public and divided the council. So most of those issues have been resolved for the moment, but they can always crop back up. So we'd like to get your quick take on some of these issues.
Sure.
For this purpose, we'll use a support, not support, or support with changes format. Here we go.
All right.
The non-discrimination ordinance.
Support.
Motorized bicycle ban.
Support.
Raising city fees for trash collection, fire, and police protection.
Support.
Financial support for Parkersburg homecoming and other civic events.
Support.
A fireworks ban.
Support.
Splash pad project.
Support.
A social media or code of conduct policy.
I would say support with changes there. That's kind of a complicated issue. Do you want me to explain it now or
Sure.
just move on?
Yeah, you can.
I feel that you have to have some sort of social media policy. How strict and what it is another story. We all have the freedom of speech, but you know, like I have a social media policy at my workplace. I'm sure almost everyone does. So I don't think that city council or, you know, elected officials should be any different. Just the point to that is what can you say and what can't you say? Because in the end of the day, we are politicians. Can you say, no, you can't use it for political reasons? That's kind of a gray area there. But as far as, you know, anything harassment or demeaning to other people, yes, that should not be, you know, that should be part of a social media policy.
Dumpster fencing and cleanup.
Support.
Residential property cleanup.
Not support. Should I explain?
With
Or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you want.
As far as cleaning up residential areas, you know, the dumpsters and stuff are multiple use, public, well, not public, but, you know, multiple people using that. But I don't feel it's the city's job if my property's a mess to come in and clean it up. If it's bad enough that it is a safety or health issue, yes, but should not be at taxpayers' expense. That should be the property owner's responsibility.
With that, we'll move into the wild card section. These are softball questions, so you've made it through the gauntlet. What's your favorite thing or place in our city?
I really like Point Park, especially since they have, you know, redone it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a great place just to take a book and a lawn chair and just hang out and read for a while. My wife and I will go down there sometimes and just, you know, take a walk along the riverfront and just kind of, you know, it's a good place to go slow down and take a break from. I've also taken my daughters down there and, you know, it's a pretty good place to do a little bit of fishing as well. So I would say Point Park's probably my favorite place in the city.
What are you personally passionate about?
I want to see equality. I want to see people doing the right thing. Well, from a government standpoint, I'm also really passionate about the outdoors. I love to hike, multi-day backpacking trips. I love to go fishing, especially in the mountains. Trout fishing is my favorite. But, you know, local lakes for bass and the river also for bass and catfish. That's what I like to do in my free time.
You just
That
answered our
was-
next question.
I kind of answered the second one too, didn't I?
So we'll skip to the last question.
All
What
right.
what is most unique about you?
The most unique about me. I don't know if you call it unique. Like I said, I'm hardworking. I don't quit. I guess some people aren't that way, so I guess you could call that unique. But that's about it. I mean, I'm a teacher. I enjoy teaching. I like shaping future generations and teaching them how our government works and different historical things. But that's about it. I don't know if you call that unique, but that's me.
Well, with that, we've come to the soft end. We will, we'd like to give you a few minutes to tell us and voters anything that you feel like we've missed or that we need to know, including how to get more information on your campaign, how to get in touch with you, donate, get involved, etc.
Well, I think you guys covered pretty much everything in the questions, but to the people in my district, if you vote for me, I will do my best to represent you. I'll listen to you. I'll bring your issues before the council, and I'll do my best to do the best for our district. As far as campaign things, I don't really have like a Facebook page or anything like that, just my personal Facebook. I think my phone number and email will be posted. But other than that, that's about all I have.
All right. Well, Chris, we really appreciate you talking to us today and giving the voters an opportunity to get acquainted with you. And with that, we want to remind everyone, wash your hands.
Please.
Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.